Do you want to learn a language, but the concept of fluency just causes you stress? You're always feeling like you're not fluent enough and you don't really know what fluency looks like. All you know is that everybody else seems to be more fluent than you, and there's nothing you can do about it. If that's the case, stick around, because in this video, I'm going to talk about 6 reasons why learning a language isn't getting fluent. I'm going to share with you how to reframe your mindset so that you can learn languages and have fun doing it and enjoy it, and not just freak out over whether or not you're getting fluent fast enough or whether or not you're doing the right thing to get fluent. If you're new here, hi. My name is Jamie, I'm a language coach, and my job is to help online language learners like you achieve their goals, get past their obstacles, and truly love language learning so that they can achieve their goals, whether that's fluency or something else. If that sounds good to you, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video all about language learning every Wednesday. The first thing to know about fluency is that it's almost more of a bragging right in some ways than any actual expression of understanding or being able to communicate with a foreign language. Especially here on YouTube, everybody loves to talk about how they got fluent in a language quickly, easily, with music, with movies, really fast, whatever sort of like adjectives that they plug onto fluency, it's really clickable. And so it creates this cycle where people who watch these videos assume that fluency should be something easy and quick. And so when that doesn't happen, it just feels terrible. When in reality, fluency doesn't actually mean much. And I'm gonna elaborate more on that concept at the end of the video, so make sure you stick around. But basically, when you see strangers on the internet talking about how they get fluent in so many languages, you have to be really careful about how much stock you put into that. Make sure you're taking everything with a grain of salt. And I know it's easier said than done, but stop comparing yourself to others, especially strangers on the internet who you've never actually met. The second thing to keep in mind is that there are tons of reasons to learn a language, and most of them aren't actually fluency. One of the first things that my language coaching clients learn is how to understand what exactly they want to learn in their target language. And a lot of times, speaking isn't actually a big priority for them. In reality, it might be more important to them to understand movies. It might be more important to read books in a language. It might be more important to just have a challenge. It might be more important to keep up with a pen pal. By the way, these are all goals that my past coaching clients have had when they've realized that speaking isn't actually important to them. All of these clients, they've realized that when they're comparing themselves to other people who are getting fluent so quickly, so easily, and like showing off on the internet, that they're comparing themselves not only to strangers on the internet, but they're also comparing skills that aren't important to them. They don't actually want to be fluent. They want other things from their language learning. But when you're always expecting somebody to be fluent, or you're expecting yourself to be fluent, it really invalidates all the other skills that you or someone else may have. Imagine spending all this time and energy learning to understand books in Russian, and then somebody asks you to say something in Russian and you just can't. And somebody says, "Oh wow, your Russian sucks." It completely invalidates all the effort you've put into a thing that you actually want to achieve when a conversation doesn't matter to you. The third thing that focusing strictly on fluency and nothing else does is puts way too much pressure on you. Like I said, many language learners aren't nearly as interested in conversational fluency as they are in other things. But when you're convinced that you want fluency because that's what you're supposed to do, and you ignore the things that you actually want, it makes something that could be so awesome into something that causes you a lot of stress and just makes you feel really guilty about yourself. For example, for years I've said that I want to take the C2 exam in Spanish to prove that I'm like perfectly native-like fluent. Honestly, this is the first time I've ever said this publicly, but I now realize that that wasn't actually my goal. I didn't actually want to put in the work to take that exam or get to that level. It's not something that genuinely made me happy, which is why even after so many years of telling myself that I wanted to achieve that, I never did. I never even got close. In reality, I am super competitive, and I thought that if I said that I was accomplishing this thing, then I would feel a certain level of pride in myself. But in reality, I just watched the years go by, still not getting any closer to that goal. And not actually wanting to. So now in present day, while I am just doing the things in Spanish that I want to do in Spanish and not the things that I feel like I should want to do, it's a lot more enjoyable, and my Spanish is actually a lot better than it was before. Have you ever changed your mind about what you want to do with your language? Let me know in the comment section below. The fourth thing that tends to happen when we focus on fluency is looking at language learning as a destination and not a journey. It's easy enough to say that language learning is a long-term thing and then also always be looking at the finish line. And then when you're a month into studying and you still don't feel like you're any closer to the finish line, you get really frustrated. It's like, why am I not fluent yet? I spent all of this time and I'm still not where I want to be. It kind of creates this like black and white view of language learning and fluency, that either you're fluent or you're not. And if you are not fluent, then there's something wrong with you, because look at all these people who are fluent. When in reality, in order to accomplish a long-term goal, you have to enjoy the process. You have to enjoy the journey. And you just can't enjoy the journey if you're so focused on the destination. So instead of obsessing over fluency and just getting there and being there, you need to think about what you want to actually do in order to achieve that goal. I mean, sure, goals are great. Goals can be fine. But the journey is a thing that needs to be getting more of the focus. Because if you're always just playing with apps or reading textbooks or whatever it is, and you look up from what you're doing and say, am I fluent yet? And you don't feel any different, it's gonna be really disappointing over and over and over again. The fifth way to differentiate learning a language and getting fluent is to think about all of the statements of learn a language in 5 minutes a day, or like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, or whatever different language apps tell you that they can do for you. With only 5 minutes a day, you're not going to be able to have the most fluid conversations. I mean, it takes some time. But does that mean that if you only have 5 minutes a day, you can't accomplish anything? Absolutely not. But there are tons of other things you can do with those 5 minutes in order to feel that sense of accomplishment and actually grow your language learning and build up your skills over time. Can you spend 5 minutes reviewing difficult vocab? Can you spend 5 minutes reading a news article? Can you spend 5 minutes listening to music? Those are all totally valid ways of practicing your language while not necessarily actively working towards fluency, because none of those are speaking. None of those are practicing having a conversation. So while the direct end result of all those activities isn't necessarily speaking, it can help you to learn a language and kind of eventually get you to fluency, but you know, that's not necessarily the primary reasoning behind doing those things. But again, just focusing on fluency totally invalidates any of the million other things that you could do to keep yourself open to the language and learn more about the language. And finally, tip number 6, and this is the big one. There is no strict definition of fluency. It's a vague concept. There's no actual strict understanding of it. Some people say that fluency is knowing a few key phrases in order to survive. Some people think fluency is being able to go into a restaurant and feeling comfortable ordering food. Some people think fluency is building entire, deep, long-lasting relationships based only with that language. And those are all correct answers. None of them are wrong. So what happens when people just strictly want to be fluent and then don't really have a clear understanding of what their goal is? Every single time they make a mistake or conjugate something wrong or have a negative experience in any way, they assume, no, I'm not fluent, I am terrible, I'm stupid, I must not be able to learn languages, I must not have the gene, the special gene or whatever it is, all sorts of things. But in reality, I don't know anybody's definition of fluency that involves absolute perfect grammar and like perfect pronunciation and all that stuff. It's just, that's a whole other part of speaking that isn't necessarily fluency. So how do you know if you actually want to be fluent or if your goals are something else? And if you do want to be fluent, how do you know what that means to you? And then once you do know the answers to those questions, how do you get there? How do you get to your goals? If you're asking yourself these questions right now, I highly recommend you click the link below in the description to learn more about my 90-day self-paced coaching program called The Method. When you join us, you'll learn how to clarify your goals to something that's meaningful and personal and exciting to you, how it is you want to accomplish, and what resources will actually make you happy and actually give you an enjoyable experience. And you'll learn how to stick to it in the long term, no matter what happens. So you can be a long-term language learner who actually accomplishes their goals. Click the link below in the description to learn more about that. And if you like this video, I would recommend you check out these videos next. Otherwise, have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Ba 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 baran. Ba 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 baran. No.